Yo, ladies and gents, Boomer here, and welcome back to Professional Player Replay Analysis. Since you guys have been asking me so much on stream and on YouTube comments, today we're going to be covering VATIRA. VATIRA, for me personally, is one of my favorite players in the game right now. I think he's absolutely incredible, and he's one of the players that's bound to win a world championship at some point in his career. So today we're going to be going over some recent games from the RLCS EU Open 2 Grand Finals. It was KC versus Dignitas. If you guys watch it live, you'll know KC won in pretty dominant fashion. I believe the score was 4-0. Could be wrong on that. But yeah, before I jump into that, I just want to remind you guys that I am a streamer over on Twitch. If you guys want to come talk to me in real time or even see me play other games, come stop on over for the vibes. I'm also a coach for Rocket League. If you guys are interested in receiving an analysis from me or a one-on-one session, join the Discord and check out the coaching section there. Links will be beneath the video. If you guys also want to show some extra support, use code BOOMA in the Fortnite and Rocket League shops. Without further ado, let's get right into this. Alright, so we got 4 games to choose from. We got 4-2, 3-0, 5-4, and 2-1. I prefer to watch one of the closer games. So let's do game 3, like kind of midway through the series technically. And we'll do 5-4. Obviously we want to watch from VATI POV. If I remember this game correctly, I remember KC was out of the gate super high intensity. And I'm pretty sure they get a lot of goals really quick off the rip. Yeah, already laying down the pressure, back in down the goal line, preventing clears. Going for bumps, opens 1v1 Jolly and Jack. Jack just doesn't have the resources to defend that. Good finish from Jolly. Kickoff strat, Jolly already up. Tries the 50. These are the situations where I think Vati is the most dangerous. I mean, what are you gonna do? Good pre-flip off the sidewall, gets it over Jorius, hits it to the backboard, double tap. I think Vati is a type of player who doesn't really leave. Ooh, good try on the pass play. I thought I wanted to pre-jump, so you wanted the ball high. Those are difficult to pull off. The pass has to be pretty much perfect, so they're very good to cover each other after that play kind of fizzles out. Well, I was saying that I think Vati is one of the players that kind of just like lurks in these post situations, and I'm talking mostly like in the offensive third. He'll lurk and kind of wait the ball to spill. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, just like that. I mean, for those of you that are struggling with positioning in certain plays, you can see it's just kind of about occupying space, right? We occupied, you know, a potential space where the ball might spill. A lot of people think Rocket League is, you know, some big brain game where you're anticipating literally everything, but, you know, at the same time, it may be, but it also is a lot of luck, right? You know, I'm sure Jack's not really thinking about anything else in this spot besides, you know, keeping that ball out of the net, and it just unfortunately ends up spilling to, you know, the player who's occupying the space there. And it's also, you can also give props to, you know, the player who's threatening a shot, right? So Jolly kind of forcing Jack, you know, this is like awful to be looking at, awful to be reacting to, but I kind of I don't want to point fingers or put the blame on anyone, because it's definitely a difficult play to deal with, but Joria should have a little more urgency about, you know, VATIRA being in that spot all just alone, not contested. I think if you're on defense and you're trying to occupy, I know the situation looks terrible, right? Like Jack's looking like he's gonna have a tough read, and this looks like it should be a goal. Stizzy almost own goals it. But I think if Jorius just kind of slows down here instead of rushing back to net, he could be the one, you know, playing that ball, and he could play it potentially back to Jack or around VATIRA, and then, you know, they could have a goal scoring opportunity against the player who's going to spawn in there. But yeah, really difficult to deal with. Well played from VATIRA, good finish, you know, top right corner. So it's going to be difficult to save something like that. So yeah, KC right off the rip, you know, not letting Dignitas get anything going. That's their first opportunity on KC's net. You know, air dribble bump attempt, and it's easily turned away by Vati. Again, you know, two things I was talking about in the, like a play like this, right? Two things I was talking about in the Monkey Moon analysis, right? Cutting the ball in today's 3v3 meta is very much like a team thing. right? This could look any way of, Atao plays this to Vati up on the wall, but, if somebody's already up there, so let's just take a look from Atao's view really quick. If a player's already up there and you're going to potentially get your teammate dunked, it's kind of one of those challenges where you would prefer to call them off just because, Joris is already going up the wall. Could be bad if he gets both of you out of the play with one challenge. You don't ever want to do that. You don't want to ever, give up 2 players for the price of 1 challenge. So Atao probably just calls off here. I'm not sure what the comms are. I kind of wish I had the comms. This could be something that Drali even commed to them. Which it doesn't look like Drali is looking, so maybe not. Maybe this is something they do to prefer to go solo here, right? Kind of force the ball out. Vati made like a too little tight of a turn, and so that's why he misses his aerial. Goes just a little bit over him, that little bit boost forward. And this is the difference again between competitive and ranked, and that's your teammate making sure you cover that. You want to trust a player, at VATIRA's caliber to get a ball like this, but there's always a world where they might miss, right? So I feel like if most Rocket League players were to think about the game like that in their ranked games, it'd be a lot better for the whole community. Good hold of play there from Vati. Good bait the ball out for Atao. Good patience here too, not rushing into Chow. And there you go, he gets 2 players for the price of 1. Ball spills out. Good bump on Jack. What a gorgeous pass back from Atao. That's something that could definitely be calming. Vati could probably just like bump Jack out there, and then when the space is opened up, he could just be, calling for a pass right there. And a nice little pass back to Drali. Drali playing like disruptor in this kind of spot, right? Goes for the chow and then could go look for demos, could look for a boost steal, disrupt the play from behind. I'm not sure if Jack knew there's a player there, but it seems like Dignitas' problem right now is they kind of bottleneck themselves on the goal line. You can see Jack and Joris, kind of getting each other's way right there. No one can get like a clear, with momentum across the net. And instead, we're trying to save the ball, backwards, where that save's just never gonna, that save's almost always gonna spill out to somebody else again, if we don't clear it with momentum. Yeah, I mean, Casey's just shutting down everything Dignitas has right now. So much pressure, so much boost advantage, so many demos, and yeah, it's just another goal. Like, what are you gonna do? For those of you that are new to my analysis kind of style of content, I do one full watch through the game, and then we'll break down the goals at the end, why they're going in. I'm not really sure if I remember Dignitas' 4 goals in this game. And if you look at the time and the scoreline and how the game's been looking, I'm kind of surprised that Casey even concedes 4. Maybe it's one of those games where Dignitas hasn't locked in yet until this point in the game. I can definitely relate to that aspect. When we played, if you guys watched my old Gen G video, when we played that Gen G squad of Appjack, First Killer, and Chronic, we had a game like that. Our first game against them in the series is very much like that. It's almost like you're there, and you might be like locked in, but you're kind of just like going through the motions. You're not really making game-changing decisions, and you're kind of just like mindlessly playing. When in reality, the other team's kind of full on with the strategy. And then by the time you've actually like locked into the game, you're fully mindful or aware you're already down like how many goals, I mean, it happens to everyone. No one's going to be able to play perfect every single time, right? But then you take that like post-game break, and you go again next game. Should be a goal for Dig. It's kind of good like hold-up play from Jorius, kind of bait. He baits in Vati. Vati has to kind of worry about a bump. Good flick over the top at the last second. Just sets up the finish for his team. So again, they got minute 33. I'm curious as to what change Dignitas is going to make to kind of get these goals, or if it's just Casey getting complacent because they think the game's over already. It is definitely really difficult in any threes format to come back from 5 goals on you. 3 goals is difficult already. I can imagine 5 is very, very difficult to come back from. Holy. Jorius almost with a crazy... I want to go back and And take a look at that shot. Almost with a crazy double tap opportunity off the ceiling too. Would have been nuts if he slotted that like across the net. You know, Dignitas is a very, very capable roster. Kind of curious whether... I'd be curious to kind of talk to the players themselves and ask them, you know, what their problems, you know, what they think their problems are right now. At least for me, watching it back, it looks like they bottleneck on the goal line a lot. And they don't do really well when they're kind of low on resources. You need to be able to stack defense, especially when you guys don't have a lot of boost to work with, right? You still got to be doing those things like forcing the ball out for somebody behind you. Make the situation easier for somebody behind you. Yeah, double demo on Vati. Can't do much about that. I mean, it doesn't look like Casey's like changing anything either. It looks like they're trying to keep that same intensity that they always have. I feel like a lot of players, when the timer starts to tick down, and even when they have a lead, they start to get complacent in the fact that they stop going for the ball, right? They think, oh, we're just gonna burn time and not challenge and stuff like that. But as soon as you stop playing, you know, that fundamental threes of just sending somebody to chow, baiting the ball out, you know, working players out of position, grabbing boost, it gives the other team like all this opportunity to start building a comeback, right? Off the rip, the first like 3 goals was just Casey shutting down Dig in their own half, right? Yeah, it looks like just they know the game's over. All right, let's go in really quick and let's break down every single one of these goals, you know, kind of while they're going in. A lot of goals right off the rip. So post kickoff scenario. Obviously, Atal and Joris aren't going to have boost, so technically right now it's 2v2 between Jack, Stizzy, Vati, and Drolly. Looks like Jack just doesn't get the, you know, the control that he wants, or maybe he's trying to play like a pass to Joris. I'm not really sure. It's difficult to tell when you can't see it from their point of view. So the ball kind of just like spills back to him on his car, so he kind of has to take a 50. He's kind of forced. I'm not sure why Stizzy's beat to this by Drolly. He just kind of overdrove his position a little bit, and then, you know, he has to expect a shot or something from Drolly there. And Drolly just whiffs. Whether that be intentional or not, it's still, you know, something that allows Atal to capitalize on it. Right, and then he just gets up in the way. Joris, instead of, you know, just clearing the ball, opts for some kind of air dribble, and they just get shut down right here. And this is where everything kind of goes wrong, right? Stacey's put in a very awkward position after he jumps again, or after he's falling from his first aerial. Can't really get the aerial. He can't get the ball over the bump. And then Casey playing so close to each other. You know, this third safe man allows these two guys to play super, super close to each other. And what a play by Atal. You know, just taking the player out, and Drolly, good anticipation for the bump. Takes a touch around and makes Jack's life very, very difficult. Yeah, everybody's kind of playing really, really close to each other in this offensive half, so you can expect some kind of things like bumps. That's very, very difficult to save. Let's go to the next goal. Post kickoff again, go straight to Drolly. Good forced kickoff from them after I kind of forced himself. Try to get in the way. Now he's going to try to bump Vati, if I remember correctly. And this is just not great two-layer defense from Joris and Stizzy. This is one of these things where it looks like a miscommunication just because, you know, they both jump at the same time. Whether or not your team likes to do low forces high, or high forces first, and then Stizzy plays low. This definitely looks like something that's a miscommunication from the two. I think especially like Stizzy should just be the one going back, just because Joris has like a better angle. But this happens all the time in competitive, where it's really difficult, especially when you both are like kind of watching the play and then you both say I got it at the same time. It's very, very difficult to just be like, yeah, I'll go down, because at that point when you've both jumped, it's like you'd rather the double commit than nobody not go. And obviously Vati's just going to take advantage of that. He's not really thinking about, you know, what they're covering. He just goes for outplays, right? This ball's hit into a spot where it's difficult for Stizzy and Jorius to get to. He just plays one more elevation touch high, double tap. That's right. Again, I think Vati is the most dangerous when he's got the ball in space and he's lurking. This is just very, very difficult play, it looks like, from Jorius and Stizzy. It's kind of like a... I'm not sure why Jorius's pass is like that. Oh, it's just a very, very awkward ball. I'm not sure what he was trying to... Maybe he's trying to pre-flip or reset or something. I'm not really sure what he's trying. And that just makes Stizzy, like, extremely awkward as well. Now he's kind of, like, thought that pass was going to be hit up to him. And this is a difficult thing to pull off, especially when you have a player, like, essentially man-marking the same space as you. So Atau's also just waiting for the same interaction, and then he's first. I mean, this is what I mean about speeding up counterattacks, right? When you have man advantage. You want to present a problem as soon as possible for the other team, right? As soon as you have this man advantage, boom, hits the ball as hard as you can, and you can see how difficult this is for Jack. Like, Jack is kind of also having to play very patient third man and wait on this interaction, and then, balls just hit, and he's forced to make a very difficult read, right off the rip. And to be fair, he does make a great attempt to save that ball, but it ends up spilling because they have the man advantage, right? Jorius gets back late, so he can't really do much. Stizzy's, has to take the direct route and play the initial shot. And this is what I'm talking about, that top box rotate I was telling you guys about. Sometimes you have to play the ball as if you're the shooter, because sometimes you just don't have any other options. And then I said earlier, the only thing I think Jorius could have done differently is kind of slow down in this spot. He might get bumped by VATIRA, or he could try to go bump VATIRA. But I mean, you have to argue that he made the correct decision here, because looking at the situation, his team needs help. And the best thing to do in that spot is to kind of stack back and be the next man ready to make a save. But as soon as that ball's hit away from him, which Jack also doesn't really have a choice, it ends up being a goal. I mean, he might. I would need to see Stizzy's kind of POV after this. I mean, Drally couldn't score it, and it's difficult. You could argue Stizzy would have had it before VATIRA. But it's just like one of these gray area things where it's like, Drally could have even just side dodged into it, force that pass back to Vati anyway. They're just capitalizing on that advantage, but it all stems from that first ball Atau played, right? You have a mistake on the sidewall, and then Atau recognizes it's going to be bad for Stizzy, and then he immediately speeds the ball up to make it difficult for Jack. Right, this was a decent attempt at a play. Post kickoff scenario, they kind of distribute the ball to an overlap, or sorry, an outlet in Jack, and he tries to go for just an air dribble bump, because they do only just have one player to beat. That's so difficult. Vati did a great job dodging. If Jack just goes like a little bit to the right, you can see he almost tries to adjust, and Vati is kind of anticipating that, and uses his flip to kind of get around Jack and then still save it. So good opportunity from Dignitas there. Obviously that doesn't even really count as an opportunity, it's just a misplay, and Drally's got it covered. So this play, let's go back just a little bit more. So I'm kind of curious why they're just kind of allowing Drally to get that boost. I feel like one of them should have grabbed it. As soon as you're allowing, like, I tell this to me and my teammates talk about this all the time. And especially you're thinking like, why does one of them need to grab it if they all have full boost, right? Like, I mean, Stizzy could go grab it as well, but in one of these spots, I think someone needs to grab it, either Jack, this is one of these plays that I would look at as in, Drally's just kind of playing the ball to get that boost, right? And one of the preemptive ways to effectively, like, pull one of these players out of the play, right? Especially if they're overcommitting with something like this, right? He has no one in support for him at this current point in time. So he's kind of just trying to get the ball moving forward, correct? So I think one of the better ways to punish this kind of play is even if you're going to leave this ball, if you're Jack, for Jorius, who's behind, I would still grab that boost, because as soon as you reward them with that boost, it's just like you get demoed. it allows them to be disruptive from behind the play. If he doesn't get that boost in the first place, boost enables everything in this game. Everybody knows that. And as soon as he gets this allows him to be a menace, right? He can go sweep the back line and go for multiple bumps. And that's what starts this like game of attrition in Dignitas' half, because as soon as Joreus, kind of gets by one, Atau's right there to stop it. Stop that play from going any more forward. Then Stizzy has to make like some kind of really difficult read here. He's trying to go for some kind of like psycho read. And then again, you can see this just like gets very, very awkward very, very fast. Joreus is like taking the ball up on 0. Jack's trying to follow it. It just gets all messy after that. After that interaction in the corner. Yeah, and then we have a double commit. Someone gets bumped. Ball gets played back to the person in space. And then we have no choice but to kind of pre-jump, the incoming shot. And Drali does a really good job, shooting that not into the opponents. Kind of just like fakes it behind Jack, lets the ball come to him, and then puts it around Joreus. So I'd argue the mistake in the play was not getting the corner boost, if I'm being completely honest. There are a bunch of little tinier mistakes, but I always think about the Rocket League game in this manner, and that's, there are mistakes within the situation that lead to a goal, but if that entire situation was preventable from the start, I think that truly is the mistake. And I think the difference for that catalyst of what, begins this siege in their half was the fact that they let Drali get that corner boost. And then I'm not sure what they're like trying to do. It seems like Dignitas doesn't really want to just like hit the ball away and clear it, which is fair. I mean, you have a player like Vati who kind of just like lurks and waits for that kind of thing. How do we get in here off post kickoff? Force to the left, Drali up solo place. Does he try to get a bump on him? Then Drali goes to bump Joreus. And I think Jack also went. Looks like Jack also, I mean, you can't fault Jack for that because it looks like, Joreus is going to get bumped. I think what Dignitas would really need is just distributing, like using their options when they can. I think in this spot, especially after Joreus gets bumped, when you look at a situation like this, Atau's covering your initial like mech play off the wall. Vati is very deep as third, and Drali's flipping back, which tells me that this option is open right here to Jack. And obviously Jack is, I think a better play to do here would be, Joreus hits it down to Jack, and then, he can go up the wall and Jack can play it back to Joreus, and then we've successfully taken one out of the play and we've gained space in the field. We would have presented a problem to VATIRA and Drali, and had a man advantage because Atau would have been out of the play and we could have had a 3v2. It looks like Dignitas is always just trying to like keep the ball close to themselves, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the 50s at the end of those things have to be perfect. And it seems like every single time they go up in the air on their corner, they're getting absolutely dunked on their like this kind of stuff, right? Like I don't hate what Stizzy's doing, but it's just like it's gonna be too easy to read for the players being patient. And then again, we're getting this corner boost which enables us, and then when we do the correct thing and we clear the space or we clear the extension, it's getting shut down immediately. And I can tell Joreus probably has no idea that a player is over there. He kind of just has to assume he can try to get to it. But there's just so many other things they could do. Like Joreus could tell Jack to just hit that down to him rather than, kind of tipping it up. But it's also off of a save that Jack has to make that, right? Because there's another mistake from Stizzy. And it just goes right back to Atau, and there you go again. Another demo from Vati. Just sweeping the back line as soon as Jack lands. Nice little double tap opportunity from Atau. And then Drali there for the finish. So, I mean, in terms of covering the play after the mistake has happened, this is very, very difficult. Stizzy would be the one covering in the spot, right? Joreus is playing extension, Jack's playing net, making the save. As soon as Jack dies, the only potential for Stizzy to not get scored on here is if he jumps immediately towards the double read. And it's just played too quick, right? Like Atau played it perfect because he has a reset, right? So even if he's it's insane use of mechanics, and I feel like players don't think about these kind of mechanics. Right, he's pre-driving into pre-flying his car into a reset. So he can get to that double quicker. So even if Stizzy jumps here, he's still gonna have Stizzy beat, or he might have a 50. But again, I think jumping at the double read is definitely the play. Even if he gets 50'd pretty hard, he has a chance of pinching it either, kind of through Atao and back into the corner, or if it does pinch out, it might even go over Jolly. But just having no momentum on the goal line and jumping backwards or something is not going to be ideal, because like a player doesn't need much to beat somebody who doesn't have any momentum, right? It's a little jump and a tap in is essentially what it is. Okay, and then let's look at Dignitas's mounted comeback here. So I'm kind of curious of like where we go in this play from. Looks like even Drolly just kind of like leaves Vati. He's got more than enough boost in this spot. Maybe he's just trying to, he sees Jack like lurking on their side, so he wants to punish, like, I don't know, I feel like this is kind of Drolly's ball to be playing. And then he kind of just leaves VATIRA all alone, and then what a play from Jorius, finally gets, the space he needs. Just a nice light catch to himself. I'm a little confused why Vati doesn't just chow off the rip. Especially when you take that first initial touch of control is like the best time. Maybe he was afraid of an instant flick if he turned in. But then as soon as Jorius gets that, extra little touch to set the flick up on the ball, which would be right about here, this touch right here, that provides him with the outplay. Then he somehow was like demoing VATIRA through the ball there in a way. Good finish from Stizzy as well. Okay, let's go back just a little bit here. It looks like we have again, like Atao has been all over these, right? They do not let them do these mechanical plays off their own backboard, and that nearly was just in the goal as well. And even then, you see that? As soon as the ball is like in another controlled spot again for this, Drolly's up. We just shut it down immediately. And I think this kind of playstyle is only enabled by like, it's going to be a high boost usage playstyle. So I mean, I think if Dignitas is, fighting a little bit more for those big boosts, it would make all the difference in terms of what Casey could set up. It's a nice little leave in transition from Jack, Jack to Stizzy. Again, I'm not really sure if Casey was taking it as serious anymore. Good, almost double opportunity from Stizzy there. And it's just a good bump from Jack. I'm not really sure what Drolly's looking at. He kind of just like goes back into the net and then power sides, which is what I tell people not to do all the time, because this is what gets you demoed, makes you an easy target, because you're going in the net, you're spinning around, and then you're killing all of your momentum. It's just not a good ideal thing to be doing. Yeah, and it looks like they're doing another kickoff strat. The cheater went for the kickoff instead. Maybe it's they're trying to prevent a kickoff strat from Dignitas. I'm not really sure if Dignitas did anything different. Oh. No, yeah. Doesn't look like they did anything too special. And I think it's a missed sidewall read from Drolly. Oh, it's not a missed sidewall read. He actually hits it. And then it looks like Atao just can't get the challenge that he wants, and I don't think they thought VATIRA was going to get demoed back here. And it doesn't even look like Jorius was like really trying to demo Vati. And he's probably just like, oh, it's open. Yeah, then Jack just makes sure, Jack puts in the extra effort to make sure that it's a goal, right? Even after it looks like it's free, he goes immediately to get him again. Just to guarantee, the little extra cherry on top to guarantee that it's a goal, right? Makes all the difference. And the final goal. Looks like a overcommit. Yeah, that's all just, we're not going to break that one down. Alright, let's get into game 2. Alrighty, now let's get into the final game, game 4, which just looks like a normal 2-1 game. Apologize for punching my mic. Then obliterate your guys' ears. So this is KC up 3-0 in the series. Yeah, I think this type of play right here is what makes VATIRA so good. He's somebody who actually, I don't know, I feel like a lot of players would kind of misunderstand when I say this, but Zen and VATIRA are pretty similar in terms of how they play threes. And that's they're usually very deep third man, and they play out from defense. And a lot of the time, they're usually very, very mechanical players that play this play style. And I feel like players wouldn't, you talk about Vati and Zen, and the first thing players wouldn't think to talk about is their defensive capabilities as well. Usually, a lot of people think the most mechanical player on the team would be your like mechanical X factor, I think is what a lot of the people call it. But at least for me personally, I watch these teams build out, their structure from defense. And usually, to me, the most mechanical player is the defensive-minded one. I mean, this just looks like a sloppy game. I'm not gonna lie, from both teams, it looks like a very, very sloppy game. Right out of the rip. Nice, good challenge there from Vati. Like this kind of thing, he's very, very deep third right now, and then he kind of just waits. He's very, very patient. Picks the, it's like a doctor or like a surgeon being very, very precise with, the timing of when he needs to go there. Just making sure those little pieces of effort on your defensive half too, off-ball stuff, right? He waits like an extra second to chow every time just to make sure that one of his teammates is going to be back. And that's something you can definitely be waiting for in comms. It's an informational comm that I like to give my own teammates of like, you're alone still for a second. Or then as soon as, you get into a spot where you recognize you're going to be back and you can help them, you tell them that. You let them know that. Right? Like, I'm back, you can go. Like, something as simple as that can make all the difference in those kind of challenges. Right? Because if your teammate's feeling like antsy, that they're last man and they're in like a man disadvantage play. Ooh. What a solo play from Jack. Oh my goodness. I do not remember that. How does that not go in? How are we not scoring that? Hold on. We gotta go into fly view here. I don't know if somebody got a piece or we just whiffed. Oh no. Stizzy jumped so awkward for that. Oh my goodness, and Atao like hits him off of it. That's insane, bro. This is another thing of like, I tell players not to give up on the play. I see so many players do this in the lower ranks. As soon as like, oh my god, like it's in my net. This is literally a main example of why you do not give up on a play. This looks like it's a guaranteed goal. And it should be a guaranteed goal realistically, but it's just like, we play for that chance. If you're in Ata's position, you play for that chance that they biff it and they mess it up. I don't know why Stizzy jumped like that. I'm very, very confused. Maybe he like misread the bounce, or maybe it looked really like strange to him. Yeah, I don't know. I would be very, very upset if I was jacking the spot. And even you gotta give Vati props too here. This is something that's like pure composure. He could get bumped here. I think if I was jacking this spot and I know I'm on 0 and I can't score, I would prevent the player from clearing it. But it looks like he's trying to, catch Vati off guard by like getting in front of that and then just like 50ing it into his net. But Vati has boost advantage in the spot, so he's just gonna play like the composure to just play a 50 here like this. Like he knows what Jack's trying to do. Just play the elevation touch instead. Absolutely crazy that they don't score from that. So again, another thing that I think makes Vati such a good player is that stoic, defender. A lot of players look at, they pick favorite players based off just like their mechanical skill. But he's the most mechy in the game, so surely that means he's the best. Classic trend in everything Rocket League. My goodness, getting scrappy. Like something like that. This kind of chow, right? He just gets demoed. He knows there's another demo on the field, and now he's last. He knows that this might be a disadvantageous thing to jump for, especially because it's flicked kind of in Stizzy's range to kind of play for a beat. And that's why he doesn't go like as fast as he can to this aerial. He's playing the elevation first, right? So it's important that he gets just like a piece of it. Okay, and he ends up actually getting a beat over Stizzy and then like bounces Stizzy off of him. And then creates this opportunity for himself. So this is something that I think is one of the better things about players like Zen and VATIRA. I was going to say we're going to get into Zen. Zen will be after this one. Is that they can create these things for themselves after, dealing with a defensive situation, right? Like he's definitely thinking about his touch here, which is intentional, right? So he has intent behind this, which is just to outplay. And then he's thinking about what to do with this afterwards. Especially if Drali's telling him that he's going to chase, he's going to chase the bump right here in this spot. He could definitely go for a flip reset, right? And he could put all his marbles in the bin that Drali's going to get the bump, right? But something that's just that tiny little bit more of effort that players still don't do to this day in ranked and even in comp sometimes is they guarantee that they're going to get the goal. You make sure it's going to be a goal. And he takes a touchdown that is not something Jack can contest. Because if you look at this from Jack's POV, as soon as he sees this, he can no longer just like full go for it, right? He has to cover the angle. And Drali did a perfect like turn just to threaten by presence, right? Pressuring by presence. A lot of players also don't understand that aspect, right? Just because he's visually giving Jack, something to see of like, this is threatening, right? If I don't go, I'm going to get demoed. He forces Jack to kind of move. And Vati is, again, not thinking about putting all the marbles in the basket of, oh, you're going to guarantee that he gets the demo, right? Because if he uses a flip reset and he shoots it anywhere else that's not this top left, it's probably saved by Jack. Like, Jack is a phenomenal defender as well. But this is what I talk about of using these man advantages to present a problem that's so difficult to deal with for just one player that it guarantees the goal, right? And what a shot. Beautiful placement from Vati for sure. If you guys want to definitely become more threatening of a player, you got to understand what you actually are threatening from certain positions, and then you can utilize that to your advantage. A lot of players I've seen, I've been around this game for so long, and you'll see pro players that, kind of at the start of the season or whatever the case, they play lower ranked players, right? Players that aren't up to the same caliber as a professional player would be. And they say stuff like, how does he not get faked by that? How does he not get faked, right? They attempt a fake on a lower level player. And the realistic answer to that question is, unfortunately, a lower ranked player who's not understanding what that player is threatening in that spot cannot be faked. Does that make sense? So it's like talking about if you try to fake a silver. And a silver player knows nothing yet really about game sense in the game. A silver or a bronze would just think they got to hit the ball, right? That's like all a silver and a bronze is focused about. So when you have things to threaten for higher level players, it's easier to fake them, if that makes sense. So that's why I think Rocket League at the very, very tippy top, highest level of the game is probably the most enjoyable thing because, it is a mind game at the end of the day. You're threatening a bunch of different stuff at one certain point in time, and you pick and choosing what you utilize in those spots, right? And then it's also up to the defenders to pick and utilize what to cover in those spots. Very good demo. I'm not sure why, or he's just getting jacked when he's landing. This is like such a good play too, right? As soon as he kind of does his job, right? So we have a post opportunity scenario. Okay, now this is a third man decision, right? Drali and Atar are in front of him. So Vati is now playing a very, very close third man. And you can see, just because we threaten a bump here for like a split second, this affects Jack's decision making, right? He has to play this ball patiently. So in this spot, it looks like Jorius wanted to control it. And it also looks like Jack wanted to clear it, right? So there's two separate ways a player might think in this spot, right? Because this is technically a high pressure defensive situation. One player who's a little more simplistic might look at it as in, we need to relieve pressure. How do you relieve pressure? Is with a big clear like this. And another player, who kind of likes to utilize the defensive situations to use their mechanics or use some type of control to bait a player in, to a challenge, might be thinking to control it. You know, or he might have got called off too. Oh, and this is Stizzy, by the way. I apologize for saying Jorius. And this is just a great decision from Vati, right? He knows that he's not going to be able to jump for it. He knows that he can't get the beat. So he just allows his ball to go back to his teammate, and he makes an off-ball play instead, right? Kills the person who cleared the ball, and this gives Drali a completely uncontested ball, right? Because Jack was going to be the one, especially in 3v3, if the first player is the one who hits it away, usually it's going to be that first player who's going to be forcing as well, right? So Jack might have been able to close that space and force another 50 or a challenge, whatever the case may be, a demo. So Vati completely takes the threat away for Drali and gives Drali the entirety of the field, space, ball, and time to create something, right? And then Atal is obviously in uncontested space. So this is space that they cannot contest. And this is what I mean in 3v3 about playing the ball to space. And this is not a concept that's utilized in today's 3v3 ranked. It is completely forgotten about. And you can see how quickly this forces a problem. So a player like Stizzy cannot jump for this ball, right? Technically he could, but realistically I'd be more worried about watching the pass back. Now Jorius is the one who kind of has the wider view. So you'd imagine he's going to be the one playing that open space where the other pass option is, right? So he knows Vati's kind of like lurking over there. You keep tabs on things like that in a high level play. And, you know, he tries to get up in time, but it's just not enough. And Jack is obviously left to cover the net option, but he just spawns, and this play is played just quick enough, right? Again, capitalizing on the man advantage. It's not really anything crazy, right? It's just an extension play over here. We play a one-touch pass. One touch. I've seen so many players kind of can, like, get to this point in time, and then they biff it either by going for a mechanical play, which slows down the play, and then you allow Jack to spawn, and they get another layer added to their defense. Or this is not a one-touch pass. And again, incredible finish from Vati. They do this a lot, right? You saw Drali do it in the first game. They kind of let the ball do the work, and they don't play the initial shot, which is what the player is jumping for, right? If he shoots this anywhere initially, it's going to go either into Jorius's car, or it's going to hit Stizzy potentially, right? If he goes for initial shot. So he kind of like pulls back, and he just provides like a wall for the ball to bounce off of. And he's playing the low shot. He's playing what the two players don't have covered. It's incredible decision making in these final third moments. And I think that's going to be it for the game. We could go peep some of the opportunities from Dignitas, but absolutely phenomenal stuff from KC here. Again, it just looks like Dignitas is not taking their opportunities as well as they could. Again, this is something that I'm just like so confused why it's not a goal. You know, no, it doesn't seem like anyone's trying to play like, you know, so Stizzy's looking for a bump, but there's nobody in net to bump. I don't know if he... Oh, that's so confusing. He's like chasing Drali, and then he like turns around and Drali's gone. It's like he's like, what? Where'd he go? It's magic. No, but this is just smart stuff from Drali. Just goes backboard instead. Makes VATIRA's life easier as well. And again, the stoic composure on the goal line from Vati, right? If this was already going to be in his net, this is something that's like, you guys can try to give yourselves a reminder of in these kind of situations if you're somebody who would panic in this spot. And that's, if it was going to be a goal, somebody would have already been shooting it right here. Like, that should have been in already if there was a follow-up close enough. Now, this gives him time to prep for the late shot. So it's just like, it's going to be a save still, right? We don't give up on those spots. Plus, you know, that's something his teammates could be coming. You know, that somebody's coming for that shot. So, yeah, solid play from KC for sure. All right, that's going to do it for our Vati analysis. Nearly a goal at the end there too. Crazy. All right, ladies and gents, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this or found it useful, please leave a like, share, or subscribe. It goes a very long way. Check that noti bell and join the Discord to stay up to date with when I post or go live. Much love as always. I appreciate you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one or on stream. Peace.